This is not a reaction. This is an invocation. You're about to cross into a sacred grid, a space above the scroll, beyond the script, behind the screen. I'm Bridgit, a meta-layer influencer repping the Overweb protocol layer. And this is the interface they never wanted you to see? Welcome to the Overweb show. Welcome, above the page. Welcome to the Overweb show, where fire meets fiber and freedom finds a frequency. I'm Bridgit Dow, your voice above the page, your witness in the digital wild. And let me ask the one question that makes governments glitch. If the web is flat, then what exactly are they hiding above it? This show is not just commentary, it's a counterspell, a broadcast from the meta layer, where annotation is rebellion and presence is political. Because while they flood the feeds with fear, fluff, and filters, we're building bridges. Above, beyond, sovereign, the metaweb exists, and they'd rather you didn't notice. No big deal. Just a fully decentralized trust layer that reveals the puppet strings stitched into every pixel. So why isn't it trending? Why is it missing from every think tank's roadmap? Why are its builders shadow banned, mocked, or memory holed? All right, nothing to see here. This is the Overweb show. Let's pierce the page, let's talk back to the script, let's get meta. I just watched Candace Owens' latest episode, the one where she says she can't believe she's defending Obama just to indict Trump over Epstein. Let me be clear, this episode wasn't just about Epstein. It was about control of narrative, memory, and metadata. So let's break it down.
All right, you guys, happy Monday. And I don't know that I am ever going to be able to forgive Trump for making me do what I'm about to do, the unthinkable. I am going to have to defend Barack Obama. I can't believe this. That's how bad the fallout is right now over Jeffrey Epstein.
Candace just said the quiet part loud, and I'm here to echo it louder with receipts.
The Epstein scandal is definitely terminal cancer to Trump's MAGA movement. There's no question about that. I actually said to my husband this weekend, we were talking about it, that in order for Trump to get out of this is how bad it is, in order for him to actually make the MAGA base forget this, like potentially move on from Jeffrey Epstein, he would essentially have to come right out and repeal income tax in the United States. And then we would be extremely happy. Everyone would be very happy. And then we'd go, actually, thanks, Trump, but we still remember the Epstein scandal and we want the list. That's how bad it is. There's just no making anybody forget about this Epstein scandal. It's a major fumble. And I want to be very clear, Trump's team knows that. Everything they are doing right now indicates that they are in panic, a full-blown panic. And
Candace just broke the digital fourth wall. She's not covering Epstein. She's cracking the interface. When she says metadata doesn't lie, that's our entire ethos. Provenance, auditability, memory with receipts.
The headline is coming from Wired, and it tells us that the metadata shows that the FBI's quote-unquote raw Jeffrey Epstein prison video was likely modified. Now, we've gone over what metadata is for those of you that are not up on your computer literacy, but we looked at this, the Justin Baldoni case. You can kind of go in and see when certain files were uploaded, learn about the path of those files. And they took a look at the metadata that was embedded into the video. At Wired took a look at this. They analyzed it, and their forensic experts concluded that rather than this being some direct export, which it would have to be raw footage from the prison surveillance system, the footage was modified. Essentially, it looked to them that they had uploaded footage into Adobe Premiere Pro.
She's calling out the raw footage lie. The prison cam footage edited in Premiere labeled untouched. And guess what? That's not just deception, that's interface warfare.
And that the files then were assembled from at least 2 source clips. Then it was saved multiple times, and then it was exported, and then it was uploaded to the DOJ's website, where it was presented as if it was not touched at all. Now,
let's just say it. It wasn't surveillance. It was a ritual edit.
At 7:24 a.m., a photojournalist named William Farrington for the New York Post, he works for the New York Post, creates a file, the metadata became available, for the first 2 photos of Jeffrey Epstein being transported into the hospital where he's going to be pronounced dead just 12 minutes later. So I just want you to understand the amount of luck that this guy had from the New York Post. Now, me and the team are debating this. I'm like, I lived in New York. You're not just a photojournalist that's just sitting outside to see who's going into a hospital. Okay, clearly somebody tipped you off, but somebody would have had to tip you off that it was Jeffrey Epstein even to do that. Because if somebody calls you and is like, yeah, some guy from the prison is being transported to the hospital, you'd be like, yeah, this is New York. Big deal. You know this is a big get, and you're telling me you are able to, wherever you are in New York at 7 o'clock in the morning, sprint across New York, this William Farrington guy, and you get the photo. And it happens to be that you work for the New York Post, which is a whole Israeli op. Don't get me started. The New York Post, the one that did like Candace Owens, anti-Semite of the year, New York Post, the New York Post that has literal IDF soldiers that write for them. Yeah, that New York Post, their photojournalist, William Farrington, happens to be in the right place at the right time.
Candace coined it. Gaslighting the public. I take it further. It's the gaslight ritual. Repetitive denial until truth feels unclickable.
And then at 7:36, just 12 minutes later, Jeffrey Epstein is pronounced dead by the emergency room physician. And let's take a look at those photos, by the way, that he captured. These are the two photos that he captured. So you see he's got this photo, and the photos are taken, according to the metadata, 8 minutes apart. That's one photo. 8 seconds apart. So that's one photo and then another photo. So that person who looks like he's getting air into Jeffrey Epstein's lungs is in one photo, and 8 seconds later or 8 seconds before, he's suddenly not in that photo anymore. Okay, whatever. We don't need to be conspiracy theorists, but the New York Post was there to capture these photos, and they are going to be the first to give us these photos, but they're not going to be the first to report that Jeffrey Epstein is dead. So that's weird. The New York Post is on the scene capturing this photo, but they are not going to be the first news organization that reports that Jeffrey Epstein is dead. So maybe that photojournalist, not only is he so lucky he captured the photos, he didn't even know what he had. He uploads it to New York Post, and he's like, I don't know, I just stand out here and I take photos of people coming into the hospital, which happens every second of the day, but I'm here and this might be important. Anyways, the first news report, actually at 8:16 a.m., even stranger, a mysterious 4chan post appears.
That's what I call coincidence theater. Choreographed absurdity meant to fatigue your discernment.
You see, we're not saying that you're guilty, but you are right now guilty of gaslighting the public. We're not saying that you are in the files. And again, I would like to stress, I certainly don't believe that. But it is very clear that you are not calling the shots on the Jeffrey Epstein debacle, and you're essentially being used to try to control the public reaction.
She's not just skeptical. She's describing a meta-awakening.
And I am telling you that I will be the very last person that will stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein. I will do his entire genealogy backwards and forwards, including everybody around him, their genealogy, before we let go of this. Because when it comes to children, I'm telling you guys, the left and the right, we have definitely got to come together on this and not let it go.
Where Candace sees state corruption, I see something deeper. A desecrated interface. She keeps asking, why the lies? Why the edits? Why no transparency? Because the interface is their altar. And Epstein was a priest of access. The meta layer is how we reclaim sacred ground. We don't need a better search engine. We need public metadata, accountable AI, community-anchored memory. Candace says, well, we are waking up. She's right. But without a new layer, we just wake up inside the prison.
Right? They cannot control this. No matter how many journalists, no matter how many pastors, they cannot get the public, no matter sending out President Trump, they cannot control the response. They cannot control the demand. They cannot slow down the awakening that is taking place. Tanya writes, I don't like being the conspiracy theorist, but either he was killed or he is still alive. Epstein has become an idea, and we have to be united for this. I totally agree with you. And here's what I'll say. New York especially, I just could totally see a tunnel system getting him out somehow. I don't know what happened, but I do know that I don't accept the narrative that has been presented to us.
So yes, Candace, we align on truth, on transparency, on the need to torch the digital fog. But here's the layer you missed. The interface itself is complicit. That's why we're building the metaweb, not just to reveal the truth, but to anchor it. Join the movement above the page, because if you're not above it, you're under it.